so good to see executive directors and representatives of our sister agencies outside wearing masks and socially distanced. We cannot do this work without you. Last year, we started a journey to make the state an employer of choice, and our first step was listening to employees. We met with 2,185 employees at 45 listening sessions across the state. An additional 1,254 provided feedback in an online survey. They identified myriad ways to improve state government, and one main focus identified by employees was our need to improve equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts. In 2019, we amended our employee engagement survey to include questions on equity, diversity, and inclusion. More than 16,000 state employees responded, but only 50.7 saw leadership support of equity, diversity, inclusion. We can do better. We must do better, which is why the Department of Personnel and Administration has a wildly important goal to move this measure 5 points for all of state government. And this executive order, the one we're signing today, is our first step. It directs a multifaceted approach to addressing inequities, disparities, and systemic racism. As a result, we will provide training to all state employees to help them understand both the causes of racism, discrimination, and inequities, and what they can do to make a difference in their job, because the 30,000 state employees can make a real impact in this area. We will change the way we select talent and implement solutions to barriers to employment. We will move towards skill-based hiring practices to recruit and retain a capable workforce to serve Coloradans in every corner of our state. And we will adopt a universal polity bringing equity lens to hiring, compensation, and retention. We will take the lessons we learned from a study being conducted on disparities in procurement. We will distribute the billions of dollars state government spends on goods and services in an equitable manner to all of Colorado's businesses so that everyone can thrive. We will create statewide standards of accessibility for our buildings, systems, meetings, and other resources so that all of government is open to the people. And each state agency will create an operational plan on how to support equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts and report on their progress annually, because we need to hold ourselves accountable to Coloradans. We look forward to continuing the work and learning from our sister agencies, the Colorado Equity Alliance and other partners, and the General Assembly. State government is most effective when our workforce reflects the communities we serve, and we are equitable, diverse, and inclusive. This order is a meaningful step towards building a Colorado for all. Our next speaker is Webb Brown. He is the director of the Office of Health Equity in the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. There he is focused on building relationships with communities, using equity in decision-making, and providing guidance on health equity training and policies across the state. His impact has been far-reaching. Webb.
Good morning. My name is Webb Brown, Director of the Colorado Office of Health Equity. Our mission is to mobilize community power and transform systems to advance health equity and environmental justice. One of our core beliefs is that every person, no matter their race, sexual orientation, religion, ability level, or language, has the right to access culturally relevant information and services that help them to achieve optimal health. And because of the work that my office does and because of what we believe, today's signing is a particularly exciting moment, an event for health equity in Colorado. Diversity is about having people from all different backgrounds in our workplaces. But diversity in and of itself is not enough, because we can be diverse by accident. Each of us diversified this space simply by being here. There was no intention involved. That's where inclusion comes in, because inclusion is about what we do with our diversity. It's about making sure that those folks from different backgrounds feel welcomed, supported, and valued. And finally, equity is about ensuring that everyone has what they need in order to thrive in these spaces. It's about not taking a one-size-fits-all approach, but considering each person's unique needs and circumstances. Equity is about developing policy and systemic solutions to issues like racism, sexism, and homophobia that keep us from being a Colorado for all. This executive order was originally due to be signed back in March, but had to be delayed until now because of the state's focus on the COVID response and efforts. But the work on this executive order goes far back beyond March to the early days of the Polis administration. Conversations about this executive order began back in early 2019. And I think that speaks volumes to the importance that Governor Polis places on truly creating a Colorado for all and making us a more equitable state. The executive order directs state agencies to develop and implement a comprehensive, integrated, and strategic focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion as a key component of their overall agency strategies. It also provides a shared direction and commitment and creates alignment among other equity, diversity, and inclusion goals for state agencies. In order to cultivate a high-performing workforce for the 21st century, Colorado state government must be engaged with and reach out to Colorado communities and ensure fairness and equity in our workplaces. While we celebrate and acknowledge today's signing of the executive order, it's also important to acknowledge that today is a first step. It's step one. We have a lot of work to do to make Colorado for all a reality. We have to maintain a clear vision, embrace the discomfort that comes along with putting in the necessary time and effort, make course corrections along the way, and hold ourselves accountable for achieving results. Today is a fantastic and exciting first step, but I'm even more excited about getting to work on putting this executive order into action. So, thank you.
Sarah Hernandez will be our next speaker. In addition to working at the Office of Health Equity, she's the chair of the Colorado Equity Alliance. The Alliance is a collaborative effort of state agencies and community organizations that aims to operationalize equity and make sure it's woven into the fabric of state government. Sarah's leadership helped make this executive order a reality. Sarah.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Hernandez. Every day, hundreds of decisions are made in our state processes. From determining who is eligible to apply for a state grant, to strategizing for the COVID response, to making sure that all Coloradans can get a driver's license. Applying an equity lens to these daily decisions makes sure that all Coloradans are able to thrive in everything state government does. To take action and form a collaborative strategy for tackling inequities, a group of state employees and community leaders came together in 2018 to form the Colorado Equity Alliance. The Alliance's mission is to ensure that state programs level the playing field so all Coloradans can thrive. Through the work of the Alliance, we are helping to build this capacity for using an equity lens in state decision-making. This includes developing tools to ensure state agencies use common language and a consistent approach in line with best practices from around the country. For example, it is impossible to advance equity without directly involving leaders from the communities who are facing our greatest inequities. And no matter how great the intentions, state agency staff alone cannot create equitable outcomes. And because of this, I'd like to take a moment today to offer deep gratitude to our community leaders who serve and volunteer their time on the Colorado Equity Alliance. Over the next several months, Equity Alliance members are focused on increasing authentic community engagement in all levels of state decision-making, increasing equitable hiring practices, and creating workplaces where all state employees know that they truly do belong. In these ways and more, Alliance members are helping to lift up and shine a light on equity in their agencies. Almost from its inception, Equity Alliance members have been advocating for this particular executive order. To assure coordination and that this work occurs at all levels of leadership, this order requires that all state agencies have a representative who sits on the Equity Alliance. The order also calls on all state agency staff to participate in EDI training, and Equity Alliance members are helping to inform these efforts. As a state and in society at large, we're at a juncture where we can get it right or we can get it wrong, which is why I'm thrilled for Governor Polis to sign this executive order today. This order and the Equity Alliance are mutually beneficial because each helps to institutionalize the other. Inequities run deep, which is why many national, state, and local authorities have declared structural racism a public health crisis. What will help bring inequities to an end is thinking differently about how resources are allocated, investing time, measuring our effectiveness, and being courageous enough to take on this work. Today's order will help us move toward a future where Coloradans' opportunity to live in a safe neighborhood, to send our children to quality schools, and to work jobs with a livable wage will not be tied to our race, our sexual identity, our gender identity, our immigration status, or any other aspect of our identity. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working together to achieve a Colorado for all.
I would now like to introduce John Bartley, Deputy Director of DPA's Division of Human Resources. The division is responsible for all statewide human resource functions and is committed to making equity, diversity, inclusion the lens through which we operate all of state government. John has been instrumental in directing this effort and in the executive order. John.
Thank you, Cara. When we began work on this executive order and the accompanying universal policy in early 2019, we had no way of knowing that systemic racism was about to be part of the national conversation in a way that would infuse urgency and a renewed sense of purpose into this work. Though the combination of global pandemic and nationwide protest has been difficult for our communities, it has raised the profile and created space for conversations regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion, even among those who have never had to contemplate the ways in which policies and systems have benefited some while simultaneously excluding others. I am proud to be part of an organization that is helping to convene experts statewide in identifying and dismantling systemic injustice while creating an equitable and inclusive workforce. And I am proud of the national attention the state of Colorado has received in our approach to this work. The Division of Human Resources is poised and ready to assist agencies as they dig deeper into practices that create inequity in hiring, to guide them as they continue to foster nurturing, inclusive environments where our employees can bring their full selves to work, and work collectively toward an employee population that reflects the diversity of the communities we all serve. We are lucky to have a large network of skilled HR professionals and thought leaders at the state who are equally dedicated to this work. And I want to gratefully acknowledge the contributions from the Colorado Equity Alliance, the Office of Health Equity, and the team at the Division of Human Resources, as well as HR directors at all state agencies in getting us to this point. Though DPA has the responsibility for leading the action on EDI in state government, it will be through teamwork and holding each other accountable that we will make equity, diversity, and inclusion a part of our work every day as we serve the residents of Colorado and create systems that allow all Coloradans to thrive. We understand that this journey will take time, and that this executive order, the universal policy, and our training efforts are merely bricks in a foundation for the work to come. However, it is a critical first step. I'm grateful that today our leadership is giving voice to our commitment to this work and highlighting the expectations for state leaders and employees at all levels to actively join the diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation. These conversations will not always be easy, but they are essential as we foster a work environment which recognizes that our differences make us stronger and that true inclusion creates a sense of belonging where all people's inherent worth and dignity are recognized, and their abilities, qualities, and perspectives are leveraged for the common good. Thank you.
Governor Polis' vision for a Colorado for all started well before he became governor. He had a vision that included state government becoming a model employer where every employee and community partner feels that they belong, that our policies and processes are equitable and inclusive, that our state workforce at every level reflects the diversity of the Coloradans we serve. And today, he operationalizes this vision. Governor Polis.
Thank you, Cara, and I want to acknowledge people who worked very hard on reaching this day and will continue to work very hard on implementation. Webb Brown, Sarah Hernandez, the entire Colorado Equity Alliance. We look forward to partnering to find real solutions to the challenges that are easy to identify, hard to solve. And I also want to thank Cara and John Bartley from Department of Personnel and Administration for really spearheading this effort. First of all, listening and learning through the employee survey and providing guidance for state agencies to truly create a more equitable and inclusive state government. I also want to thank the members of my cabinet, many of whom are here today, who are going to be key in transforming this vision of a Colorado for all into reality on the state side. You know, my goal is really a state and administration that serves everyone, in which everyone is well served. It's Colorado for all. And we don't just embrace, we celebrate the idea that no two people are exactly alike. And those differences are a source of strength. Diversity makes our state healthier. It makes our state more prosperous. It's about how we complement one another, how we learn from one another, how we challenge one another and make one another better people. Today's executive order helps codify the commitment to the vision of a Colorado for all. Look, our state government is one of the largest employers in the state, over 30,000 people, even more contractors and subcontractors. And when it comes to equity, diversion, and inclusion, it's important that we set a statewide model for best practices, because inherently the public sector has a higher standard, and we want to be a model for the private sector. Today's action begins that work by explicitly affirming our belief that an equitable, diverse, and inclusive workplace is one where all employees and community partners feel valued and respected, no matter their identity. Whether you're descended from Eastern European 20th century immigrants who fled Eastern Europe for religious persecution like me, whether you're the son or daughter of immigrants from Latin America, whether you're descended from people who were brutally forced to come to our country, or whether you're descended from our indigenous residents, or you're a son or daughter of the American Revolution, we all deserve to be seen, to be heard, and to be included. Today's actions make sure that we are able to affirm that belief. It articulates 5 very clear, very specific action items about how we are going to get there. A universal equity, diversion, and inclusion policy that guides our state agencies for an inclusive workforce. Through training, by developing mandatory training for all state employees to address implicit bias so that we can get the very best out of all of our state workers and provide a better understanding of what equality, diversity, and inclusion means and the historical context. And of course, results. A plan to support, coordinate, and oversee the equity, diversion, and inclusion initiatives, including a tool that we can track and hold accountable the progress. And accessibility, by developing statewide standards of accessibility to guide our agencies to make sure that our state buildings, our systems, our meetings, our materials, our information, and other resources are accessible to all Coloradans, regardless of ability and regardless of language. And finally, procurement, by helping state agencies address systemic inequities that have been identified and will be identified in the state procurement process. These action items are important. But taking this work and truly creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace in our state takes much more than just these efforts by Department of Personnel and Administration. We need every state agency rowing in the same direction, not just my appointees, but our career members of the state government as well. It means each agency has an active role to play in incorporating the equity mindset into their systems, policies, and practices. Long-term equity, diversity, inclusion plans developed by state agencies cannot become just another report that's created just to be shelved. They need to be dynamically updated. They need to be nurtured. They need to be implemented. And implicit bias training developed and implemented by DPA must be a big part of those who serve our state. And state agency leaders set the tone for buy-in and participation, and every state employee should celebrate the value add that this training can bring them with additional benefit well beyond their workplace experience. Our goal is that with the close partnership and collaboration with the DPA and the state agencies, together we can help achieve a Colorado for all, a more equitable, more inclusive, more diverse Colorado, a place where we hear you, we see you, and we respect you, where everyone has a seat at the table, where a person's future success is not determined by their identity, a place where we tear down the walls of exclusion and build ladders of opportunity in their place for everyone. I'm excited about this ambitious vision for our state. And I know that by working together and with some of the first steps that are taken through this action today, we will achieve a Colorado for all. Thank you. It's official. Congratulations. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're very excited to take this big step for Colorado for all. Thank you, Cara. Congratulations. Well done. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, cabinet members, for being here. And